Okay, so just continuing where I left off. There's a little bit of a tiny specular highlight that's going on a rim up there, and there's all these little rims up here. You notice that there's very little color at all in this scene. I'm just getting a few of these, see a few of those strokes which have fallen into shadow. There's a bit of an archway there. The only color you have is in these little areas here, and up there's just a little bit of color, and that's yellow. The rest of it's almost all grayscale. So in this particular situation, there's very little saturation to be seen or used anywhere. That did badly. And whenever I make a paint stroke, I try to find out where's the start and where's the end. So there's the start. There's the end. And then I'll make sure that my mouse cursor can touch both sides. You know, it's just like with a pencil. You use a pencil or paintbrush. Make sure that you're able to perform this movement, because that way when you make the actual stroke, you won't screw it up part way because your hand wasn't in the right position. By checking, you know, by doing this sort of checking, now I have to tame it by taking a fat black brush and then passing over it. See, I can tame it down a bit because it was too bright earlier. Yeah, by doing your practice stroke, you make sure that your hand is in the right position, because if you can't make that stroke, you'll have to reposition your hand until it can. I screwed up those few strokes. You know, you have to figure out where are these lines leading to, what else are they hooked up to. Don't just copy the paint strokes that you see. Okay, so now the alignment on those is okay. And there's lots of very little subtle bits to be dealt with, because the molding is just so fine and thin. You've got these lots of these little thin beveled edges, and it's really quite an ordeal to deal with, to handle them. I have to get that stroke back up because it was bad earlier. It was just poorly aligned. Okay. Now there's a bit of a shadow that cuts it off there. Back to the white. Just having to use some very subtle brush pressure to defocus my eyes, refocus when I need to actually put the stroke in. Your eyes should be focused if you're painting, your eyes should be focused. If you're trying to figure out what to do next, then you can defocus your eyes. When you're looking at this painting, defocus your eyes, unless the details are really small. But, you know, it's, let's see what else. Okay, so that's all the main little bits. Just looking around for mistakes, like these windows are way too low, and I have to move them up higher to match. You know, if you see this arch, you see that arch, wow, you've got like a big cylinder, right? So you got to continue the cylinder inside. Things that you don't see when your eyes are focused. Okay. And then we've got all this yellow orange light. So I'm just looking down here, and I'm looking up here at my color palette, you know, and I think I got it pretty close. Maybe a little bit more saturated. Oops. But, you know, pretty close. It's probably a little bit more orange, but I'm not going to fuss too much on that. It's a moot point. The entire back wall of this area is lit, and then there are shadows cast upon it. So don't worry about the shadows that are cast upon it. Light the entire back wall first. There. And then I'm going to use the black. And just because I'm using black doesn't mean I'm exactly painting black. I simply have to use soft brush pressure. And now I just want to fade it upwards as it goes higher. That was too much. There. So now it appears as if it's lit from below. There's a bit of the white spill from up from these and this window that are coming in. They're kind of providing a bit of a halo. And now there's a dark, sharper shadows. So I'm going to have to look at this while my eyes are focused rather than defocused. And get those pillar shadows in. And you have to adjust your brush stroke so that it's wide enough to catch the you know, the shape that you're trying to paint in the fewest number of strokes possible. So I'm always using the widest brush that I can. And now that I have that, now we have the actual columns themselves, which are casting the shadows. Look how dark they are, especially up there. You got these little dark corner points. So that's where they attach. Oops. There. And then we have these other dark spots here. So you notice that I'm always looking for the lightest of lights and the darkest of darks. And just trying to bridge between those two. And then there's a small little figurines and whatnot here. But there's lots of little white highlights on things, so I'll just hit those little tiny bits. There. And then I'll use my dark brush to put them back. Back with the white again. Just catch these few strips. And then I want to get that, just want to lighten up these regions as well. Because they're just a little too inky black. And now you've got, these areas are not perfectly black. They're still a bit lit. So I'm going to go and just hit those regions just a bit. And then you have the actual floor of the altar. So how far to the side does it go? It goes all the way up to that side right there, and it gets brighter too. There's, you know, some light that's probably from here coming down and striking that way, so you've got a cross. The light coming from up here is coming down here and spilling onto the floor. Same deal, this comes down and spills over there. Now we've got these little figurines up here, so I'll use the bright white to sketch. And that one is not so bright, but I'll just scribble in something there just to fill the space. That's bad, I shouldn't do that. And then it's lots of these little fine white things, but I think it's a little too early for them. It just doesn't feel like it's the right time. But I have to start lighting these regions, so how big? I'm going to try and get it in a few strokes. I use that. And there's this entire region up here which hasn't been dealt with. But you see how it's brighter there at the edge. So this is what 20 minutes gets you.